what's really important with layout, especially if you're not using transitions, is you want the plank to land in as many doorways as possible. And what I mean is the long joint of the plank, to make it easy for you to get into another room. So what I like to do is I like to use what I call the 10 plank method. I put 10 plank together and I'm going to use those to measure off of to figure my layout. So I'm going to figure out the width of this room and get the center point of it. And once I do that, I'm going to make a mark on the floor right where that center part is. And then I'm going to measure to the wall to find out how large of a piece I'm going to have. Now imagine if I put a bunch of plank together from that mark to that wall, I'd be able to find out how large of a piece I would have along that wall. And if I connected plank away from that mark going the other direction, I'd be able to see that that would be the same amount. Now I can go down to the bedroom door based off of that, and I can see exactly where the plank is going to land inside that doorway, which it will land in the doorway, and I like that. Now the next thing is to find out how large of a piece I'll have in the doorway across from the bedroom door. And so I just measure away from that, get my measurement, and then I'm going to go to my 10 plank and I'm going to measure off of that to figure out exactly how large of a piece I'm going to have. And it's a little over 4 inches. Now again, just imagine if I connected a bunch of plank from that mark and put it together until I get to that outside door, it would be about 4 3/4. Now I need to go and check into the bathroom. Now if I put a bunch of plank together from this line, you could see it would go past about 1 inch. And if that was the case, then what's going to happen here is the plank is going to have to wrap around both sides of this door. This makes it really difficult to get through doorways when the plank lands in a doorway like this. It's not really fun, and I don't recommend for you to get yourself in this position, which is why I like to do the layout the way that I'm doing. Let's not forget, one of the biggest reasons why we want to be able to go through doorways is to avoid those transitions. And so now what I need to do is just move that mark over about 1.5 inches. Now I need to go check these other areas that we already figured out. If I adjust this plank back to make that door, what's it going to do to the rest of the layout that we've already figured out? Now, just to kind of give you a good example here, if you had a bunch of plank together and you moved it, you'd be able to see how large of a piece you're going to have along those walls now. Now, instead of doing that, I just measure, but I just want you to understand what I'm doing here. We'd have a 2-inch piece on the outside wall, 5-inch on that main wall, would still go into the doorway of the bedroom, and we'd have a 3.5 or 3.25 inch along the exterior door for the back door. So I could just move this line over 1.5 inches, and that will be the main line that I'm going to use for my layout. Now once I make a mark on the floor there, now I can measure from that mark that I made to the exterior wall. I can go down to the other side by the cabinets, measure up away from the exterior wall the same amount, snap a line, and now I'm ready to start my very first rows. Now if you are by yourself and you need to snap a line, you can just pound a nail right in the mark that you made, hook your chalk line onto the end of it, pull it nice and tight, and then you can snap your line. Now we're ready to install our first few rows. This is the tongue side, here's the groove side, right here. Here's the groove side on the butt joint, tongue side, tongue side. We always want to face the tongue towards our starting wall. We always want to work away from the groove. So I'm going to be working away from the groove this way and this way. So that means I want to start this first plank towards that wall with the tongue facing that way. I'm gonna do what I call bridging, where I'm gonna have part of the plank overlapping on this side and part of it on this side of the plank. I get it in the track, and that's gonna help me get these two planks straight. This is what I call bridging. I'm gonna use my tapping block to get it to lock in now. And now I'm gonna continue on, and this is gonna help me keep this plank straight and also these two plank together. Now I'm going to bridge it again, but I'm going to lock in the long joint, but I'm not going to lock in the short joint. I'm going to just make it just shy of where it needs to go. So now all of this is locked in, and it's not going to come apart when I move it. I'm measuring down close to 40 inches, and I'm just going to round up to the next full plank, which is, in my example, would be 41 1/16. So that's how far my plank needs to be away from that chalk line. Now I'm going to sacrifice one plank here, and what I want is I want the groove side. So now I have 8 scrap pieces here that I'm going to use. Now if you were on concrete, you could just use glue and glue this scrap piece down. So if you're on concrete, here's the glue gun that I'm talking about. You can get a glue gun just like this. I'll have a link down below for my tools page so you can check this out. Now when you stick this down on the concrete, it sticks really well. And right now, at the very end, when you're ready to pull these pieces, just use a pry bar to get it out. Now I like to put these at every joint. This is the way the plank is supposed to go in there. I just reverse it. And then for my expansion joint that I'm going to leave against the cabinet, I use the locking system as my guide. So I'll just make a mark right where the groove ends. That'll give me my 1/4 inch up against that wall. You can see that plank isn't going anywhere. I could go with the long one, the medium, and the small. I could go with the small, the long, and the medium. I just am trying to establish a random pattern. It doesn't matter, okay? So this is the angle to angle. So what I want to do is I want to first get my butt joint put into place. There's 2 different ways of doing this, and I'm going to show you both. Get the butt joint into place, let it down. Now it's close to the locking system right here. Now I'm going to start lifting it up at an angle down here. I'm going to take my tapping block and I'm going to start working my way back. See how that just went down flat? So here's the other method that's used, and it depends on the plank that you have. This is an angle click, or what I call a drop and lock. And what you do first is you seat the long joint and then you slide it back towards the butt joint and then drop the plank down. Now you'll take your tapping block and make sure it's seated in there perfectly. Lightly tap until it drops into place completely. And now we're just going to take that rubber mallet or dead blow hammer and pound that butt joint down so it locks in place. Get this started. I'm leaving an expansion joint of a 1/4 inch along the back wall. Same thing. Just use my tapping block to get it locked in. Now I'm going to start the next one right here. Get that locked in. Now this is where I go through and I make sure my patterns aren't the same with the other planks that are around it. I'm not going to put them, I'm going to give them a little space. I'm going to space it out a little. I'm just going to kind of lay them out and get them in the spot where I want them. Makes it go a lot faster. Lift at an angle, lightly tap. Come back. And then it'll all start falling down. Now the key is to have a good tapping block. This is one that I designed. It's called the Plank Hammer. I like it because it's not so big and bulky like the other ones I used to use. It weighs still a good amount of weight, 2 pounds. Has a really nice handle so you can grip it in different spots. This is really DIY friendly. So once we're installing all the plank in that room, then I'll go back and I'll install that very first row that we left out. And this just makes it so much easier because you were able to build a nice solid foundation in the beginning. And coming back and installing this row is really simple. All you do is line up plank right on top of the plank that's already been installed. I make sure it's lined up perfectly with the plank underneath. And then I also make sure that I stagger the butt joint a little bit different than any of the other plank. And now you see me using my cheater board to mark the wall out onto the plank. So we just take that plank, go cut it, and now I'm going to remove all those little tiny pieces that we used to secure that floor, and then we're simply just going to put these pieces in. Hit that subscribe button and that like button if you feel like I've deserved it. I really do appreciate it. My family and I can't thank you enough. If you're looking for some good quality tools, check out my website. There's a link below for the tools page. And also, if you're looking for some good quality vinyl plank and you haven't chosen any yet, I also have some vinyl plank recommendations down below. You can click on that and go check those out. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. I also have a membership site that you can come and check out if you want help with your plank installation. You can get some one-on-one coaching from me if you're looking for that, and that's called Plank Boot Camp. I'll also have a link below for that. Hey, I'm Joe Latender. Thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next video.